Tattoo artists of Reddit, what's the *cking sure about getting this one moment you had with a client? The first tattoo I ever got to do in a shop was a cover-up of a woman's name, let's say, Amy, on this guy's chest. The man explained to me that she cheated on him with some guy named Keith. I lived in a somewhat small town, and the very next day this couple comes in wanting the woman's name tattooed on the guy's butt. The guy who owned the shop was gonna let me do this as my second tattoo, seeing as he was pleased with the one from the day before. I asked for her name, and when she said, Amy, I laughed inside to myself, thinking there was no way it was the same one. Well, the guy's name was Keith, he told me. He said as I was shaving his butt cheek. I couldn't help but laugh, and said I was giggling because I'd never shaved a butt cheek before. Turns out they had only been together for the past few weeks but were madly in love. Former tattoo artist, a man who looked to be in his late 50s with no other tattoos, came in asking for a black widow on the tip of his penis. He said he wanted to surprise his wife when she got back from her trip that weekend. He didn't seem to be under the influence of anything fueling him to make this ridiculous choice, so I proceeded to tell him it was a horrible idea. Pendy's skin is not the same as other areas you'd get a tattoo. It would be painful, he would not want to use his pendies while the tattoo was healing, everything I could think of for him to logically come to the conclusion that it was a bad idea. No dice. I could also tell he was getting off on trying to make me uncomfortable, small female, mid-20s at the time. I finally said sure and threw out an astronomical handling fee. He frowned and finally walked out the door. Opposite end of this spectrum. I was 19 and my buddy from the dorms in college decides he wants a tattoo on his stomach of his initials. Think Tupac, Thug Life, tattoo, but like gothic lettering initial or something. Sounded stupid to me, but whatever, I am not a tattoo guy. But we go into this tattoo shop that was pretty popular at the beach near us, and he tells the guy what he wants and is looking at pricing and fonts, etc. But the tattoo guy starts trying to talk him out of getting his initials and instead says he needs something more, eye-grabbing, like violence, or rage, or mayhem, something cool. His exact words and suggestions. Strangest interaction by anyone trying to sell anything I have ever seen. To also put some perspective on this was 1999 and my buddy had a puka shell necklace, frosted tips hair, and wore cargo shorts and Ralph Lauren polos every day of his life. He was not the "I need a tattoo that says violence on my stomach" kind of guy, and that was pretty obvious. Hey there, are you subscribed yet? Please do. Also leave a like on this video to help out the channel. I witnessed a tattoo artist attempt to talk a guy out of a tattoo while getting one. This guy, who was maybe early 30s, came in. He was super awkward and had a few other people with him. They were obviously drunk. He explained to the artist he wanted a Hello Kitty tramp stamp the size of a CD. His friends all laughed and started to record this guy. The artist asked him why, and he said his friends thought it was funny. The artist tried to talk him out of it. He ended up getting the tattoo. I think about this poor guy who was obviously doing this to fit in with his crowd of friends, and how he has to live with a tramp stamp of Hello Kitty. I was out on a bike ride one day and an old pickup with a canopy on it drove by. On the canopy was a business logo and the business name was, "Do you want what where? Mobile Tattoo Service." I can't even begin to imagine what they've seen. I was getting work done and the receptionist came in to speak with the artist. She had someone at the front desk looking for a quote on barbed wire starting around his wrist and wrapping around his arm all the way up to the shoulder. How about nothing, because that's stupid and I won't do it. Oh, okay, I'll tell him. He looked at me and said, "Sometimes you have to be the good taste police." I did a Nike swoosh once when I was broke and I still regret it. This isn't my story, but a story I was told at a bar. I was talking to a guy while smoking and he was a tattoo artist. He told me he had a female client who wanted a neck tattoo that said, "Duck y'all bitches, your man chose me." He said that he delicately, as politely as humanly possible, got her to agree to just the words, "He chose me." He said the kicker was telling the woman that the tattoo would be meaningful in different social situations. Such as a wedding per se, "He chose me," or when going to church, "He chose me." The woman agreed and got it tattooed. Not an artist but a friend in college wanted to get ***, do not go gentle into that good night. ***, rage against the dying of the light. On her back, since she loved the poem by Dylan Thomas. Problem was it was too long, so she was going to shorten it to "do not go gentle." I had to convince her that was probably not a great idea. Definitely the Pillsbury Doughboy holding money bags, accompanied with the gentleman's street name which I can no longer remember. Runner-up is "Evil Bitch" on the girl's thighs. I'm glad you are enjoying this video. Before we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment. Not me, but one of my artists. He said a couple came in and the guy wanted his girlfriend's name tattooed on his chest, like in big writing all across the top of his chest. Him and the owner of the shop flat out said no. He told me they said no because he found out they had been dating for 3 months and the font design he was wanting would have made a hard cover-up. So they decided they didn't want to the tattoo since they knew it screamed, coming back in 2 months for a cover-up. Oh, boy, I was traveling through Germany in my late teens and had a few too many liters of beer, when I stumbled into a tattoo shop demanding a flaming pentagram, held by a demon's hand, with a banner of my name under it. I'd been carrying a sketch for months. The shop owner asked me, "Bist du dir sehr sicher?" And I kinda had a moment there. I said, sorta tentatively, yes, and he turned me away immediately, too drunk to consent. Saved my life. Whenever someone between the ages of 18 and 25 comes in, we always give them a quick once-over to make sure they're sober and then ask them if they're 100% sure. First tattoo was for my entire left side. I'd done the art myself as a watercolor, and it looked really good, a bunch of driftwood, a fishing net, and various seashells and glass dolphins hanging like wind chimes. The artist was recommended by a friend who swore up and down that he was incredible, but I wasn't knowledgeable enough to look up his portfolio, etc. He had me wait a few days because I was grieving the death of my sister, to make sure I didn't change my mind. I wish I had. His ducking apprentice redrew the art, and I didn't think to check after the kid cuz I was too worried about him licking his lips when I took my top off. The seashells looked like hands and the dolphins looked like pendus. And the artist didn't correct either, claiming that I should have gone over the apprentice's shoulders and made sure the kid did it right. Went to the shop next door a year later, their rival shop, and asked one of their artists to fix it. New artist takes one look, notices all the scarring and heavy lines, compares it to my original painting, and immediately knows who did it. He even called out the rapey apprentice. Dude has done all of my tattoos since. His portfolio is all hyper-realism, but he does incredible watercolor if you let him loose. I always feel bad because I know he'd rather do muscle cars, but he tells me he doesn't mind cause his watercolor work on me brings in easy sorority girl money. I worked in a tattoo shop for years, though not as a tattoo artist. Any name that wasn't an parent or child, or a memorial to someone who had passed, we had a straightforward talk to. One of our artists was very good at cover jobs, and hearing from him directly about how many names he covers up is always a reality check. We also find other ways to get what they want. For many, getting a symbolic image instead of a written name is the option they turn to. My wife is a tattoo artist. Yesterday she informed me that a friend colleague of hers was tattooing a donut around someone's asshole. Does this count? Back when I was an apprentice, I tattooed matching pieces for a young couple. It was Arabic text, running from the nape of the neck right down the spine to the coccyx. They initially wouldn't tell me what I said, but after I refused to tattoo it without knowing, they told me. Hers said, "You are the jelly to my peanut butter," and his said the reverse. They'd been together for 2 months. I don't do couple relationship tattoos anymore. When I was an apprentice I just got handed a lot of assignments I couldn't turn down. The one that stands out is a couple who got enormous tattoos that just said, "Dysfunctional, shoulder to shoulder," in giant font. They were white but it was in the style of those large, arching Chicano family name style tattoos. I was handed the assignment of tattooing the woman of the couple because the boyfriend didn't want another man touching his woman, and I was the only female with a slot. Also they just like sucked as people. Were on too many muscle relaxants and kept slipping off the chairs and jolting up, twitching. They said lots of aggro things etc. I was lucky that her shoulders were much smaller so I finished her up much quicker than the poor dude that was tattooing her boyfriend. He kept having to come back for more sessions. Also, Nazis like to try and trick you into giving them Nazi tattoos. It's like a perverse little game with various levels of sophistication. So that's obnoxious, I hate it. Not a tattoo artist but I am an idiot. I was 19 and super into piercings and tattoos. I'd had both my nipples double pierced, A+ one side and AX the other. Decided the finishing touch would be to get the Punisher skull tattooed above the diagonal piercings, skull and crossbones, so cool. Told the guy what I wanted and he flat out said, "No way in hell am I doing that shit." I was mad but wanted a tattoo so instead got the skull on my calf. 19 yo me was pissed it didn't happen, 29 yo me is so grateful that guy didn't let me go through with it. I know a guy with a left shark tramp stamp. It was apparently a meme about a bad backup dancer at Katy Perry's halftime show performance. To me, it just looks like a janky cartoon shark welcoming you into this poor guy's ass. A friend of mine from my high school days is currently covered in absolutely ridiculous tattoos. Some aren't that dumb per se, but the reasoning is just awful. The kid was a real patrolhead. In high school, he thought if he got a tattoo of a Monster Energy logo that Monster would sponsor the car he was trying to build. 10 years later, he does not have a deal with Monster Energy. I don't remember what the picture was of, but I remember my dad had a client over with 2 or 3 of his friends. The client shows my dad a picture and asks him, "What do you think?" My dad said, "That shit is stupid looking," and his friends start laughing. He looks at his friends like, WTF, and the friends said they didn't want to tell him and hurt his feelings, that it was a stupid tattoo. Some friends, edit. My dad was a very talented artist, while also brutally honest.